Welcome to the Intuitive Therapist Podcast with Janis R. Cohen, therapist, clairvoyant, empath, and medium. Listen in as she takes a no-nonsense deep dive into real human struggles and how to resolve them. Janis will share channeled information from her spirit guide team, as well as the angels and archangels, to help you master your emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual destiny. And now, Janis R. Cohen.
Hey y'all, this is Janis Cohen, the Intuitive Therapist here on the Intuitive Therapist Podcast. Well, I hope y'all have enjoyed the last several podcast episodes. It's been such fun sharing the channel messages with you, and I want to welcome you back to another episode. So it's different. Today, we're unpacking some essential wisdom for the spiritual seeker. Things that you need to know as you step into this powerful and sometimes unpredictable path of self-discovery and healing and enlightenment. And whether you're just starting or you've been seeking for years, I think we all seek, right? We're going to be talking about some key insights and reflect on some big questions and uncover some practical strategies that are going to help you stay grounded and empowered. So let's get into it. So, being a spiritual seeker means you have an inner calling to go deeper, and you're searching for truth, for connection, and meaning beyond what the physical or material world alone really can offer. And spiritual seekers often feel drawn to uncover life's greater purpose, right? To understand their place in the universe and to align with something bigger than themselves. But being a seeker isn't always straightforward. Absolutely, it's like a zigzag. And it can be full of both awe-inspiring discoveries and challenging truths. That is for sure. And you're opening yourself up to new perspectives, right? To the unknown and to profound shifts that change you from the inside out. Now, you might wonder, why is it important to dive into this inner work? And the answer is simple, but it's pretty profound. You see, spiritual seekers feel a deep inner calling, like I mentioned before, and it's a pull that they can't ignore anymore. And it's about finding a connection to your soul, your true self, and aligning with something that feels authentic and real. And for many, the journey, it's really about breaking free from a lot of things. In order to get to your true self, you've got to let go of what doesn't serve you, like limiting beliefs and really repairing past wounds and tapping into a source of wisdom and love that is beyond you and beyond your ego and the day-to-day life struggles, right? So this journey is about growth and authenticity, and you've heard me talk about authenticity a great deal. And it's a journey to remember who you truly are. I think we're all on that journey. Beneath all the expectations, conditioning, and self-doubt that we might carry with us. And if you're anything like me, you know that it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Growing spiritually, it is filled with peaks and valleys. It is not an easy ride. In fact, it can be pretty ugly. So as I talk to you today, I want you to think about what got you here to this point. What have you been through in your life that you're looking for answers to? What do you not understand about you and your life that you want to understand more? You see, as a spiritual seeker, your soul is pushing you to face what you've yet to face in all of your lifetimes. And I know that's true for me. I've dealt with some heavy stuff in my life. And what I truly believe is that my soul designed my experiences to help me learn what I needed to learn. And trust me when I tell you that I would not have, or nor do I know anyone who's had a tough life would call these really traumatic and difficult experiences into their lives voluntarily. In fact, it's our human nature to run from pain. It's how we have survived as a human race. But the spiritual race, so to speak, it's not about survival. It's about thriving and releasing what doesn't serve you anymore. And it's only as you grow as a seeker that you come to understand and accept this concept. And as a human being, your soul is calling you to put your feet to the fire so that you can learn the lessons as quickly as you can and then become a happier, freer, and higher version of yourself. And the truth is about your spiritual journey is that it's going to ask you, or actually request, or call on you to let go of your comfort zones, to face difficult truths, and to go beyond what you thought was possible for you. And I can tell you that dealing with these things head on, facing the pain, looking at yourself and your part in how good or bad your life is, it's the only way to grow and meet your greatest self. Okay, so let's take a big deep breath together. Breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth, because we're going to dive into some big questions. And my cat is here, if you can hear her in the background meowing. She is echoing the importance of today's content, right? So we're going to deal with some big questions and give you some pretty good strategies that really, in my opinion, every spiritual seeker really needs to know. So these questions are designed to guide you on your journey, and they're going to help you explore your inner truth and stay connected to your path. And I want you to take your time with them. They're not questions to answer quickly or just simply, but they're really used to guide you to a deeper understanding. And so the first question it's a pretty powerful one. And the question is, what am I truly seeking and why? Is it peace, purpose, self-love, or understanding, or just trying to get clarity about why your life is the way it is, right? Are you trying to get clear on what's driving you, right? We call that your big why. And when I've talked about that before, it really is when anybody says, okay, here's my big why, it's that real internal big reason why you're doing something or why you're not. So you've got to be able to know what this is, your big why, and to be able to check in with it regularly. So I want you to ask yourself, am I moving in the direction of my big why? If so, what else can I do? And if not, what could I be doing? And your answers really, they actually may change as you grow. Now, the second question, am I willing to let go of who I think I am to discover my true self, who I truly am, right? This one goes deep because spiritual seeking often asks us to release the identities that we cling to. And most of the time, we don't even realize that we have given ourselves these identities. You see, our life experiences, especially at a young age, will often lead us to self identify, and not always in a good way. And most of us have had enough crappy experiences in our lives that we label ourselves labels that only cause us more pain. For me, well, for most of my life, I felt like a failure, a screw up, a fuck up. And my family and some friends would see me continuously struggling in a particular way. And they'd often tell me, like, Janis, you're too good for this. Why are you doing this? Like, stop saving people. Stop choosing people with broken wings. What's wrong with you? And to a great extent, they were right. And not in the unspoken label that I gave myself, and maybe perhaps they did too, but with their love and caring, they were right in saying those things, the things that I just mentioned. And it wasn't until I came to an understanding of who I truly was that the entire trajectory of my life changed, causing the definition of who I believed I was to change, right? I just told you I felt like a screw up, a failure, a fuck up, like because everybody around me was literally watching me step from one pile of shit to the next. And they knew and they know how good of a person I was. And they were just like, we don't understand why you keep doing this. And I didn't either, right? But really, the bottom line was that I didn't know myself well enough and I didn't have the self-respect to make better choices, right? So I've now learned that, right? Now I feel like a rock star, a badass bitch who knows who she is and who will never compromise to make anybody accept, love, or approve of me. It will never happen again. And that was my lifelong lesson. That was one of the big ones. So to me, based on where I sit in my life right now, the pain was entirely worth it, all of that. And my life has changed in ways that I would never have been able to predict, right? So ask yourself, who might you become if you were free from all of the negative labels, judgments, and expectations that you've given yourself? And how would you actually live your life if you were actually embodying that strong, capable, unstoppable identity that you'd like to have? Now, the third question, how can I stay grounded as I grow? Most people don't think about this. You just want to learn and get out there and become a different version of yourself. But spiritual seeking can sometimes make us feel disconnected or ungrounded. And this can mean that we feel alone in life. I know I felt like that many, many times. And more so, it can mean that we feel disconnected from source, from the greater force beyond us. I've been there more times than I can count, like I said, but I'll tell you a little secret that has quickly closed the gap. Whenever I feel that way, it really means that I am out of alignment with myself, that I have gotten off track in trusting myself and my intuition implicitly and 100% of the time. That's really where the gap is. Whenever we feel alone, it means, of course, that we're not connected to source, but more so, we're not connected to ourselves enough to pay attention to what our body and our emotions are alerting us to. Now, there's really no other mantra needed except I trust myself implicitly 100% of the time. And when you live into that, that's it, right? You'll be able to say everything's always working out for me, or, I wonder what miracles are going to happen today. You're on a different trajectory when you're in alignment with that energy. So, I want you to reflect on what practices, people, or places, keep you anchored in yourself and the world around you, right? Maybe it's walking barefoot in the grass. Maybe it's listening to music or eating root vegetables. That, by the way, is a grounding technique, eating root vegetables. Or meditating or hugging your favorite animal or connecting to nature, like putting your hand on a tree, sitting on the ground, laying in the grass, or praying to your spiritual altar, making a habit of regularly taking time to connect with breath, connect with your body, and allow spirit to enter your awareness. Sometimes that's all you need to feel grounded, is to just breathe. And it's interesting. I'll just say this little caveat. Once I figured out why, back in the day when I used to smoke cigarettes, I would always I had this whole routine, right, as most addicts do. Well, actually, all addicts do, by the way. And I didn't realize this until I realized it, that I was actually using cigarettes to ground myself, because breathing in so deeply and slowly and holding it and then exhaling slowly, that was a meditation. It was just a very unhealthy way to meditate. So, breath is so profound when you want to connect to self and ground yourself. So, um, I want to get into some strategies now that can really help you navigate the ups and downs of spiritual seeking. And these are some of the tools that can actually help you stay balanced, focused, and resilient. And so the first strategy is to embrace humility and openness. And as seekers, it's easy to become attached to what we think we know. This is one of the biggest things I realized in my life, is that I I love being a student. And being a student means that you're in the mindset of not knowing everything, right? But remember, true wisdom often means being open to new perspectives and understanding that we're all students. And one of the most, like I said, the most important lessons in my life is to always learn, to always ask for help, ask for clarity, ask for understanding, asking how to do something, right? Even when your mind tells you, if somebody says something, shares a fact with you or a story or an outcome, and your default may be, and I know a lot of people are like this, you'll either complete their sentence for them or you'll go, yeah, I know. And we call that mind rape. I know it's a very interesting concept, but when somebody doesn't allow you to say what you intended to say and speak your mind, and they speak it for you, it's like taking something away from you. It's a violation, right? So you already know, even if you know something, let the person speak, because it just may be that when a person shares something that your mind, your ego says, oh, we already know that, they may have a different experience of it and be able to explain it in a way that changes the game for you, right? It may enlighten you. So don't shut people down so fast. Don't shut learning what you think you know down so fast, because somebody who either has done it more or done it longer or is more of an expert at it than you actually might have something to teach you that you didn't know. So this is where humility comes in, and this is where openness comes in. So I want to encourage you to approach each experience, each person as a teacher. And I talk about this all the time. When you finally understand every single thing, every moment in life is a teaching moment, then you're going to start to interact with life and with everybody in a very, very different way. So when you release the need to know it all and to be right, and to be seen as right, you're going to create a space for growth and insight that you could never have possibly created before. Now, the second strategy is all about grounding yourself in daily practices. We did talk about grounding before, right? And all those methods really do work. But one of the most powerful ways to stay centered as you seek is to establish daily grounding practices. I do this. Sometimes I'm not always consistent, but I do it. And I spoke about some of these before, like I mentioned, but I journal almost every day, at least Monday through Friday. I just kind of vomit all my thoughts out. And if there's a belief that I'm stuck on or I'm feeling a particular way, I ask for guidance about how I can see it differently, right? Time in nature, mindful breathing, doing any kind of work where there's a structure that I have where I focus on the bottom of my coccyx, and I allow like a pole to come out with a hook on the end, and I allow it to go down into the center of the earth. It hooks on a horseshoe-shaped piece of metal that I see in my mind's eye, and then I get pulled down, right? So that's an anchoring experience. And these practices, they really do help integrate the things that you're learning and experiencing on your journey, because you're being present. You're staying focused on you, your breath, your body. You're in the present. And so really finding the quiet, consistent moments of self-connection could bring you to an incredible breakthrough that you wouldn't otherwise experience if you're just doing. The third strategy is about allowing space for shadow work. And some of you kind of may poo-poo this, but this, I tell you, it is one of the most important parts of the spiritual growth process. And when we talk about shadow work, we talk about looking at the parts of yourself that you don't want to look at, that you hate, that you shun, that you throw away, that you bury down, right? When you're seeking spiritually, you're going to see both light and shadow aspects of yourself. And really, the shadow work is the practice of acknowledging and really having the completing the emotional experience that has not been completed when it comes to your hidden fears, your insecurities, your self-loathing, and your past wounds. And this is some of the most challenging work. Swear to God, been there, done that. But it is also the most transformative and the most rewarding. And when you choose to look at the parts of yourself that you reject, you actually give yourself the gift of working towards wholeness, because that's really, we're all working towards that. There's no human being on this planet that doesn't have shadows, regrets, anger towards themselves at some point in their lives. Even narcissists, they know on some level that they feel inferior, not good enough, and that's why they act the way they do, right? There's a niggling inside of them. They're like, oh, I've got to make somebody feel bad and fuck them up in their head so that I can feel good, right? So no human is immune to this work. And shadow work is insanely powerful. And it's always going to reveal hidden limiting beliefs that you likely don't even know you have. Very true. Now, remember the journey, it's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. And the more parts of ourselves that we can accept, the closer to wholeness that we get. And facing your shadows with compassion. And that means love for yourself, because the previous versions of who you were didn't know what you know now. So I liken it to, you can't expect an infant to be able to do college-aged work, right? So, and that sounds really like, well, of course we wouldn't expect that. So why are you expecting that of yourself? If you look back at a younger version of yourself, knowing what you know now, and you're like, oh, what a stupid idiot back then. I should have this, I should have that. But you didn't have the skill sets, and you didn't have the learning or the wisdom or the experience. So how can you expect something of yourself when you didn't know any better and you were doing the best you could? This is where the compassion comes in, right? This is key to doing the work effectively, because it allows you to integrate the parts of yourself that you resent. And it allows you to live a lighter and more grounded existence. So as you continue your spiritual growth journey, I want you to remember that your decisions to learn from your life, that's the biggest gift you can give yourself, period. You don't need to walk blindly in life anymore. You can look at your life without wanting to murder those parts of you that you feel like are stupid or shameful or worthy of feeling guilty, because you're brave as hell. You've got the courage and you've got the resilience to continue to walk this path. And each moment of growth, every insight, and every challenge shapes you into a fuller version of yourself. And the beautiful thing and the hard part is that this journey of self-development, it does not end. It evolves, and it's going to last all of your lifetimes until your soul has nothing more to learn. And then you get to be a heavenly consultant. Not a bad deal if you ask me. I'm ready for that. And as you seek, I want you to always remember that the power, the answers, and the wisdom, they're always in you. They live in you. You've just got to get quiet enough to allow them to come into your awareness. So before we close, I want to invite you to take one or two of these questions or strategies and explore them this week. Write about them, reflect on them, and bring them into a conversation with others. I found that some of the most profound conversations my husband and I have been around questions like these. So if you're in a relationship and you want to grow together as a couple, start asking some of these questions and start sharing your answers with your partner. It's a beautiful way to bond. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with other seekers that you know. And I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. I want you to keep seeking always, keep growing, and stay grounded in your truth. And until next time, I wish you a blessed day, a wonderful week, and as always, live intuitively.
Thanks for listening to The Intuitive Therapist. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.